to introduce our next inductee is Marc Bruno, class of '93.
Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to introduce Ed Evans. And when I got the call from Ted, I immediately went to AI and I said, I put in everything I could find on Ed, had the World Wide Web search, and I said, please help me write a 3-minute speech because I didn't want to get on Ted's bad side. And everything I could possibly say about Ed Evans. And what I got back was a little surprising. It said, yeah, good luck with that. So I said, let me try another way here. I said, query different, tell me the top 3 reasons why Ed Evans is getting inducted into the Cornell Hotelli Hall of Fame. And the first one was, I had to discount it, said something about a potential mistake. The second one said he's a great identifier of talent. And I said, okay, that sounds good. I can appreciate that. Ed identified me 35 years ago, and I think I've done okay, as well as many of you. And another inductee this afternoon, Abigail. And then the first one was that he holds a Guinness Book of World Records. And I was like, queried that one again, which record? And it said he's organized the most number of people in tuxedos and formal ball gowns to eat at the hot truck. So I said, this is not working. I need to get serious. I've known Ed for 35 years. What do I want to say about Ed? And it became pretty clear immediately that Ed is literally all about others. He's got his mischievous stories. He's got his vintage cars, his beautiful boats, his scotch, his cigars, and all of that is really designed to just help bring people together. That's where Ed shines. If you need some advice, Ed's there for you. If you need an idea, Ed's there for you. And if you need a shoulder to cry on, Ed's there for you. You see it all the time in his infectious smile. You see it in his joy for his wife of over 50 years now, Brenda, his wonderful kids, Melissa and Parker, and his grandkids. He's really impacted so many people, most of them positively, that it's really no wonder that he's in the Hall of Fame. So Ed, please come on up, take your well-earned spot on this stage, because this one is all about you. Congratulations. Sir, congratulations.
I'm going to step up here. You're going to use this, I know.
Everybody holds us back. It's supposed to be like this. You can't cook on the bottom. So does this work? Well, somebody switched these around, which is the way life works. But this sort of explains a little bit about me. And those of you who know me already know this. But those of you who don't, I spent 40 years in personnel, HR, people and culture, whatever the hell it's called now. Okay? But for the lucky ones who don't know me, I've had several rules for HR. The first rule is that rules are just guidelines. Sort of like Parlay and Pirates of the Caribbean. It's not absolute. Second, as an HR professional, if you're not in trouble at least 60% of the time with your line boss, you're not doing your job. And finally, and it's been said by several people, I think Steve actually said it, the right thing is more important than the right way. Leaders are about the right thing, and managers are about the right way. And again, I encourage you to ask Abigail or Marc or anybody that's worked with me if that's not what I believe, because it is. These slides that were supposed to be cut have all come in here in all kinds of order, so it's testing me. I think that Dean Walsh did this on purpose. But I've kind of lived my career this way. And I think it's important for all of us in terms of being genuine in this industry is be who you are and say what you feel, because those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind. So the dean asked, well, how'd you find the school? Well, this is early on. What happened, my parents said it's probably better to send him away somewhere. So that's kind of what happened. I have some thank yous, a few. First to my parents. My mom, who came to the US in 1939 as a 13-year-old immigrant from Switzerland, who was a great entertainer, a tough grader, and made me want to get out of the house. And to my father, who grew up 10 blocks from the American Museum of Natural History in New York City, the son of a doctor. His playground was Central Park, and I found out at his memorial service from his brother that his playground was Central Park, and I also found out that in Central Park there's a tower, and there's a little water container at the top of that tower, and that's where they told people how much rain fell in New York City. My father used to climb up that tower and evacuate into that cylinder. And so the rain levels, when my father was growing up in the 20s in New York City, are off. Maybe that explains a little bit to you about who I am, okay? The exterminator at my grandparents saw my father's interest in natural, all things nature, and said, hey, you should go to Cornell. They have a good entomology department if you want to study bugs. So in 1940, he went to Cornell, interrupted by World War II, served in the Army, came back, and never left Cornell. Thanks to him and thanks to Cornell, my sister and I got to attend Cornell tuition-free, which is probably how we were able to do that. The next thank you, which is probably more important, is to Brenda, my wife, of more than 50 years. The good news probably is that I, like Steve, traveled more than half the time, so it's probably more like 30 years, which is, which is why we've made it this long. She's the biggest reason I'm standing here. It's true. And why I have a tie on and a suit, because I would be here in that same shirt that I was in that photo up there. She said I couldn't come unless I dressed up. So this is, you owe this to her. She's the full-time parent of our kids who both turned out really well thanks to her. She took care of the pets. She took care of all kinds of things, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful to Cornell and to the hotel school, the Nolan School of Hospitality Administration. While I was in school, one of the summers, my first summer after my freshman year, I worked in Columbus, Ohio. Got arrested Sunday morning for a U-turn on High Street. The police officer stopped me, saw my New York plates on my car, EAE 49, New York, on a 68 Corvette. Walked up to the car with a nice hat on and said, you from New York? Where do you go to school? I told him. He go, that's one of them Ivy League schools, ain't it? You know, I was proud of that. And one of the things I'm proudest of, and I think a lot of us in this room share, is that when we got out of school, especially in the parts of the industry that I worked, if you came from Cornell, there was a higher level of expectation just to be at the 0 line. So I worked harder just to get to that place, and it meant a lot. I also, and I haven't heard anybody say this, but maybe it's just me, because I got in trouble more, but I had 3 incredible executive assistants who covered my ass when I was out of the office and told me the things I needed to hear that I probably didn't want to. And finally, whoever it was who overserved the Hotelli Hall of Fame committee when they were selecting people, when they were talking about me. So you laugh at this, but this was kind of my full list that Ted wasn't going to let me talk about in terms of, I wrote down all the people that had an impact on me, including, he's in the back of the room, but Professor Kelly, who was one of the first people I worked for, and I was his dirt boy. I cleaned the bathrooms. So this quote, Dean Walsh, isn't from me. It's from the chairman of the Board of Trustees, Craig Kaiser. I may not always like Cornell, but I'll always love Cornell. So time's up, but I'm going to tell this story anyway. Because if the chairman of the board is watching this, as a freshman, you probably don't know that Craig Kaiser has 2 older brothers, Kurt and Carl. Freshman Quantity Foods, Rothskeller. We're finished for the evening. We're cleaning up. And Kurt Kaiser is supposed to clean the deep fat fryer. Kurt Kaiser leans over the deep fat fryer, and his Bic lighter falls out of his pocket. Not a good thing for any of you who are in food and beverage. So, when somebody talks about rather being lucky than good, I was lucky. I was standing next to Kurt, the Bic lighter bounced on the front and fell on the floor. And so, Chairman Kaiser, that's the story about your brother. So it's really hard because it's way out of order. But like I say, I think CHS is really incredible in that that enabled me to love Cornell, because there are decisions that get made, that the dean has to make, that the faculty have to make, things that happen that I may not agree with, which means I may not like it. Doesn't really matter, but I don't like it. But CHS to me is an incredible vehicle to make sure that there's continuity, and it connects old with young, big shots with nobodies, and that I am incredibly appreciative for. I love Cornell, and I love the Nolan School because it's one of one. It is the only hospitality education school housed in an Ivy League university. There are over 200 4-year hospitality education programs in the US, and there are over 600 AACSB accredited business, undergraduate schools of business in the US. There actually are 4 hospitality programs, Cornell being one of them, that is a hospitality program as well as business school. Penn State, Washington State, and UCF. But it's one of one, and I am eternally grateful to the university for having that school there and for the uniqueness that it affords all of us. So, that was mentioned. You'll note Bill Minnock and Debbie Minnock in this, Denise, Abigail, Marc, several others, and the crazy guy way on the left, Dean Dittman, and the woman in the middle in the door, Maureen Dittman. That, to me, also is about what CHS is about celebrating. And celebrating is a really important part of life. Finally, in my 20th minute, people will forget what you said, people will forget what you do, but people will never forget how you make them feel. And I was at our son's graduation at Cornell, undergrad, 2008. Maya Angelou delivered that. That, to me, is what the hospitality business is about. It's not about perfection. It's about how people feel. And I was at a presentation when I was at Marriott, actually, and the presenter said, okay, when Martin Luther King gave his famous speech, how do you think the audience would have responded if he said, I have a plan? Okay? It's about how you make people feel. And as the world gets more and more AI, experiential anything becomes more important, and it's real. Because whatever's happened in 2,000 years, 2,000 plus years, Mary, I apologize. When Mary and Joseph got walked from the inn over 2,000 years ago, not a frickin' thing has changed, okay? Maybe the how, maybe the why, but the what is still the same, and they didn't feel very good about it. So I just say, first of all, thank you to everybody. Thank you to the people in this room and elsewhere who made me, who is an unremarkable person, certainly among the people who are being recognized today, a little closer to that. So congratulations to all the people that deserve to be up here, and thank you for recognizing me.
To introduce the next inductee, Mark Whitworth, class of '77.